Elaine, great to see you. Hello, Ricardo. Hello. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We have chat joining. Excellent, excellent. Well, so good to see you, everyone. Welcome. Let me turn my music down here. How's everyone doing? Oh, and we have doing good.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, good to hear.
So.
So. Oh, good. Chad, welcome. Marie-Cécile, welcome. Hello, everyone. Put in the chat where are you today, right? Just where are you today? I know some of you are big world travelers. Where are you calling in from? Basel, that's my hometown, yes. Brooklyn, New York, excellent. Freiburg, Germany. You definitely have an international crowd. Montreux, also Switzerland, excellent. Summit, New Jersey, wonderful. All right. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. So, welcome to our interactive online conversation. Today, our topic is future-proofing your teams and cultures in the age of AI and constant change. And it's interesting to me. Today I want to take a little bit of a contrarian approach, potentially, maybe not. But before we go there, I want to just ask, who of you is here for, well, I know who is here for the first time, but who is here for the second time? Maybe raise your hand. Excellent. Okay, Chad, you've been here twice. Elaine, you've been here twice. Christoph, who's been here more than twice? Christoph, excellent. Hello, Andrea, welcome. Without wanting to put you on the spot, but obviously I'm putting you on the spot, I would love to know, what have you appreciated most about these sessions so far, right? Today is our fifth interactive online conversation. What have you appreciated most so far? Christoph, I'll pick on you because I see that you're unmuted and you're here more than once. So clearly you're getting some value.
Somehow expected that, so I unmuted myself. What I appreciate is the different perspectives that just give me additional insights, the informal exchange, the additional information with interesting guests. So that's, yeah, it's just amazing.
Excellent. Thank you, Christoph. Anybody else? Chad, are you unmuted on purpose or by chance?
By chance. I think it's sort of the thought-provoking conversation,
Okay.
right? It allows us to sort of all to get outside of our workplace and be able to have a communication as professionals across different boundaries. And I've also learned that like every company operates differently. And so sort of the differences in the way that we operate and approach problems is also insightful.
Excellent. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that. And so for those of you who's the first time who are participating here, every time at the end, and that's a plug for at the end, we'll take 2 minutes to complete a short survey, right? Because I want to know what you love about these sessions, what you would love to see, and maybe also like what topics would you like to hear about? Because we've started those interactive online conversations to do exactly that, to provide value to people, to learn more about different topics. Of course, this is also, frankly speaking, one of my marketing tools, so you get to know me, because we know we have to be in front of decision makers for 7 hours before we know, like, and trust each other, right? And in today's fast-paced world, it's really it's hard to do that, to get quality time with people, and this is one way of doing that. And what we see from the survey, the number one thing that people appreciate most, and some of you have already said it. Hi, Susan, good to see you. One of the things that people appreciate most is to meet interesting people, right? To also, so it's not just about like you meeting me, but it's also you meeting you and learn from each other and learn with each other, because everybody here is highly intelligent, is like highly experienced. It's always the thing that when I was in corporate that I was thinking, everybody says people are our greatest assets, but then the follow-up actions that are in line with that statement sometimes are not so congruent. Let's just leave it at that. So we have highly intelligent people. And so what I want to do, and that's why today's conversation is really designed about learning from each other, co-creating, crowdsourcing ideas how to future-proof our teams and our cultures as we are, living in this constantly changing world, right? With AI is one thing that is emerging, but there are a million other things that are emerging that keep changing the way that we work and interact with each other. So that's what we do today. We'll have intimate conversations and co-creative conversations. I mentioned today I might be choosing a slightly contrarian approach to the whole, I want to call it AI frenzy, and everybody talks about it. And it's been inspired by Jeff Bezos. And I want to show you a very quick video. It's about a minute to share a perspective. And I'd love for you to tell me whether or not you can, once I play it, once you can actually hear my voice and everything. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. And yeah.
I very frequently get the question, what's going to change in the next 10 years? And that is an interesting question. It's a very common one. I almost never get the question, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? And I submit to you that that second question is actually the more important of the two, because you can build a business strategy around the things that are stable in time. And so as you pointed out, in our retail business, we know that customers want low prices. And I know that's going to be true 10 years from now. They want fast delivery. They want vast selection. It's impossible to imagine a future 10 years from now where a customer comes up to me and says, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish the prices were a little higher. You know how I love Amazon. I just wish you delivered a little more slowly. Impossible. And so the effort that we put into those things, spinning those things up, we know the energy we put into it today will still be paying dividends for our customers 10 years from now. And so when you have something that you know is true, even over the long term, you can afford to put a lot of energy into it.
All right. Who's seen this video before? Anybody? Sveta, yeah.
In teaching entrepreneurship or
Sorry.
learning about entrepreneurship.
Now we're going
There's a big challenge in it because I think there is no single formula.
All right, there we go. That's enough. We don't need to hear more things from intelligent people. There we go. Okay, so that has inspired me, that view of like what is not going to change really has inspired me to frame today's conversation because right, everyone seems to be focused on what we do need to change or do differently to thrive in the age of AI. Like, but what if the key to constant change isn't about what needs to change, but what are we able to build on? Like what stays constant, what stays the same, and what doesn't change? And especially as we're thinking about culture and how we are impacting our teams, enabling them to thrive. So I would love to do a quick pulse check just out of curiosity. As you're thinking about, okay, my team is thriving, we're working in a culture that enables people to thrive. What do you think the percentage of factors that influence that actually won't change? Like put it in the chat. What do you think is the percentage of factors that won't change that influence how we show up or like that influence how people thrive and enabling, building cultures that enable people to thrive? That won't change. What's the percentage of factors?
In the next 10 years, or what is the time frame?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's say the next 5 years. %55 won't change. Okay, great. 30% won't change, 75 won't change, 70%. What else? 20, 70. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I think we have a slight majority that feels the majority of things won't change compared that they will change. So I would love to dive a little deeper and talk about like, what are those things that won't change versus will change when we think about how do people thrive? Like, how do our teams thrive? How do we build a culture that enables people to thrive? So I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Those of you who've been here before know how this works. Usually I ask a question, I put on some music, so I give you some time to actually think about the answers, because I'm a person, I always need a little bit of time to think about something. I cannot be like right there, or my answer is just not as good as when I get some time to think. So I invite you to think about this question. Actually, can you see there we go. What factors that influence your team and culture won't change? And also, what will change? So what factors that influence your team and culture won't change, but what will change? I'll put on a little bit of music. All right. Okay, so before we are going to discuss that as a conversation, I'm going to send you guys into small groups, because not everybody is comfortable sharing in a big group, and I want to make sure that I make good on my promise that I want to capitalize on everyone's intelligence in here. So you'll be put into groups of 2 for a couple minutes, just for you to share in your pairs. What are the factors that won't change, and what are the factors that will change, before then we come into like a group conversation. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. It's usually a good sign when people don't come out when we close the rooms. That means like you could have used more time. So we can continue the conversation here. So what are some of the things you guys discussed?
That was a super fast 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Too fast.
you know what? That is because my timer was only on for 2 minutes instead of 4 minutes.
Okay.
Human error.
Oh, well.
One of the things that won't change, human error, is going to be inevitable for the rest of all times.
That part.
Sorry about that. Oops. Okay.
I can dive in if we want to talk about it. If you want to dive in, yeah, I can dive in.
Yes.
So what Lana and I talked about is like those things that are human factors won't change. So like the need for driving diversity and inclusion, the need for psychological trust and building that, organizational efficiency, team efficiency, understanding and facilitating conversations across difference. Those are all things that we discussed that, you know, those are the types of things that we don't see changing. Do you want me to go into will change?
No, let's wait.
Okay, cool.
Let's stay on the topic of what won't change first.
Yep.
Yes, and we can
Yep.
switch gears. Thanks.
So I can jump in. Andrea and I discussed to add on to that, as well as the core culture of the company, like the mission, vision, that those things don't change, and even the way you lead your team, in terms of leadership skills, that won't change. But there are some things that need to change as well in the face of the changing AI and technology.
Totally. Let's definitely get to that. Absolutely. Thank you, Rhonda. Who else? What won't change?
Barbara, Ricardo and I were kind of on a similar path, that that at a high level, people still want to feel a sense that they're contributing, that they're making a difference, that there's trust and transparency in the organization. To Rwanda's point, there's purpose behind what they're doing, and ideally passion with that. And then also that there's acceptable rewards for that work, whether that's, salary, recognition, merit, however it is, but you need all of, that's an important part of an organization and getting a team to thrive.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Oh, and connection. Sorry, the other one was the importance of connection with individuals, and how kind of motivating and satisfying that can be as part of an environment.
Yeah. Awesome. Good.
We were with Christophe together, and we agree with most of the things. And I was just thinking about something that has nothing to do with an organization. What is an impact in the organization, but it's more broadly, like, the geopolitical instability, because that has a big impact in everything we do, and personally and also in the in the way organizations are managed and the business outcome. So I don't know if this has anything to do in this discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Because it is a factor that that has an influence. So absolutely. Yes. And I actually appreciate that you bring that up, because it helps us also broaden our view and the way that we think about it, because it's ultimately, there's so many factors that have an influence. So thank you, Marie-Cécile. Who else?
Daniel and I were talking because we're both in the need for people is not going to change, because we're in the service industry. So there's no AI that's going to replace any people. So that's for sure not going to change for us. I think the recognition it's been discussed, is big, and that's always going to be there for sure. What is for sure going to change is the technology that helps us get these people being more productive and get things done faster and more efficient.
Yeah. Thanks, Kareem. Yeah, definitely the need for change. The need for people, thankfully, that in and of itself is not going to change. Absolutely. But how we're utilizing, or how people are in their roles, that might change. Absolutely. So yes, anybody wants to add anything of what we've heard? Otherwise, let's switch gears. Andrea.
I just wanted to say, one of the things I talked about, I'm in the ed tech space and work with a lot of educators and schools. And I've learned over the years that some people's fears can be assuaged, but some people are just going to always be very fearful and resistant. And it's how to kind of work with those people as comfortably as possible, but expecting everyone to be fearless into the future, whether it's technology or another new advancement, I think can set up the team for failure.
Yeah, I think that is such a valid point, or like such an important point, right? Like, what's not going to change is how we are wired and how we personally as human beings deal with change. And, we had a conversation last time, and Christophe, you actually said it beautifully. The whole AI thing is nothing else but an exercise in change management, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. And ultimately, how we react and respond to change, that is a very individual. But by evolutionary, we are wired to not like change, because that means uncertainty for our brain. And our brain is wired for survival. So we have a negativity bias because our brain is always scanning the environment for like, what could take my life, right? And so change brings that uncertainty. Change brings that. And so it's a great point, Andrea. Like there are people who will be early adopters. I mean, okay, maybe some people are early adopters. We've already passed that stage, right? It's here, it's happening, it's not coming, it's here. I mean, we have Read AI here in this meeting with us, right? Who helps me to take notes. And so that's a reality. And so I appreciate that. What's not going to change is like how we as human beings are living life and how we're responding to change. Awesome. Anybody else would like to add anything?
I put it in chat, Barbara, and I think it may be the same side of the medal that Andrea just mentioned. It's that the need for safety. So that's probably the aversion to change and the need for safety and connection. Yeah, we mentioned connection. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, very true. Very true. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. The need for safety. So what will change? And obviously recognizing we have also various industries represented today, right? From service industry, ed tech, pharma and healthcare and insurance, all kinds of industry. What will change? What are some of the things that will change? Definitely.
So Svetlana actually brought up, and I think this is sort of relevant to the last point, is that the need for connection probably will amplify. Because everything is changing, people are going to lean into each other a little bit more, I think, in this change, and I'm seeing it begin to happen too. What we talked about was the type of company and the type of role. We'll probably we'll get specific, right? Because underwriting will supplement in my company what we do, but data analytics will completely change in light of AI. And we're already heading that way. And we can see that they're nervous about that and they're nervous about the change that is existing there, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when we talk about sort of mid to large size companies, probably seeing a lot of organizational structure changes. So culturally, that's going to affect people. And also culture building a need to navigate ambiguity and understand what changes, how you move through the change cycle is something that I anticipate my company will need. And what I'm starting to drive through my company is like the conversation around all this is moving. How are we navigating this ambiguity? Everybody upstairs understands what the mission is. Everybody downstairs is just trying to do their job. How can we get them in a mindset that they can move forward without having all the answers? That's what top of mind for us. We didn't get to finish off. So Svetlana, I don't know if you have anything you want to add. We didn't get to finish that part of the conversation.
In your 2 minutes?
In our 2 minutes.
Sleeping on the job, chat.
I had 28 seconds. So very efficient. I think I will say what will change is, I think what you mentioned is that the roles and responsibility of people will change. And what I think Karim mentioned, that technology, how people do a project. So the day-to-day will change with the technology. And I really appreciate Chad mentioning that it depends on the particular area, because that will be some of them will be changed drastically, right? And some others. Yes.
Thanks, Sveta. Who else? What is going to change?
Geopolitics. I think Marisa still also highlighted that, that's a real thing. And it is something that affects all of our companies.
Yeah. Rhonda, you unmuted.
Yeah, I wanted to add is what will change is people need to, well, what can I say, embrace change in regards to AI and learn to adopt and adapt it into the new innovations. I work for a small biotech, and one of the things that they do struggle is how do you start to look at this ever-changing world of AI and how do then the business model fit into that? And you need to have some creative solutions and some ways to, I guess I think was said, embrace the unknown and just move forward with ways and solutions that integrate that into the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Rhonda. Who else? Well, Christophe, please go ahead.
So what will change, and I'll just be the optimist here in this round. So what will hopefully change is getting rid of all that tedious clicking, copying, editing, drafting that just eats up so much time. Also simple things like you'll be out of office, you need to move meetings, delegate stuff, all of that manual office work, I think, can be taken off of us, and we can make better use of our highly paid brains. And that can be a lot more rewarding also for the team when they can influence instead of execute. What I like in the last call is the idea of having a personal assistant, an AI assistant that you can simulate decisions with, seeing the implications of your ideas, simulating various approaches. I like that very much because that helps us amplify the time that we get on our hands to think and then run those simulations to pick the best scenarios and then link up with others. So I think there's a lot of potential to make people's lives a lot better in the workplace and grow the bottom line at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you thank you for that, Christoph. It's almost like you get to, is anybody familiar with like the Shell Group scenario planning? Like they're very famous for that, and they are going out in the world and they say basically they help people or like they help influence the future by planning scenarios, what could be in the future. And that's not exactly what you said, Christoph, but by having by brainstorming, or like what's the impact of my decision, by brainstorming with AI as part, as like almost have like your own board of directors to bounce back decisions, and what the impact that could have is quite powerful, right? And it could help to see what could be the consequences of those decisions that I might not even be thinking about on my own, which is huge. That can have huge, consequences. Absolutely. Awesome. What else is going to change? I see, Sveta, you put in this in the chat, climate. Absolutely. Yep.
I think there is also something around the relationship to work. And I see that especially with the younger generations, they have a very different approach to us. I have the impression we are more or less the same generation. We've certainly done our career in maximum 3-4 organizations. I think our kids will have a very different relationship to the working environment, to the organizations. And the way they already start negotiating the salaries, the benefits, everything is amazing in comparison to, to us, right? So I think this will change. And the next 5 years, we're seeing the change already. It won't change completely in 5 years, but
yeah, absolutely.
I think balance and priorities
Yes.
are huge. They're people, young generation today would leave just not because they have another job, but because the job that they have right now doesn't fit within their priorities
or their values.
or their
Their
values.
purpose. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. What else? Daniel, what's something in your area that will change?
I saw it coming.
Yeah. You felt it, right? You knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. Well, I'm new here, so I'm just kind of listening to everyone. And I think I work for an NGO, and we provide family planning around the world, basically in the developing world. I'm in the US, but I'm in the headquarters, and we provide. I was like, while everybody was talking, I was thinking about all those things about the needs of people. And I think more and more, all these things are connected, like the climate, population-wise, and the needs of people. And then family planning that will be the need will be there always. And so that won't change at all. But on the other hand, we're looking at a lot of changes in terms of governments looking at their populational window and how that will impact their development. So when I look, I don't see the changing on the needs of people for what we do, but I do see challenges coming ahead, like governments putting policies that they are kind of promoting people to have children. And in a certain way, although this never happened, never works out well, that will impact on how we do. And so that will change. And basically the technology behind all the hormonal products that we provide and non-hormonal as well. But what will definitely change in my view is how we reach the people. So I think we're probably going to see a huge change in the last mile of delivering goods and family planning goods to all these people. And we work in places where it's extremely difficult to access people in sub-Saharan Africa and some places in Asia. So that will change. I think that will change. And I hope that changes for good. And I think it will change for good.
You see, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah. I'm trying to absorb more today than but good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I appreciate that. I just always want to make sure everybody gets a chance because we all have that, right? We all have our experiences and we all have we're experts in the lanes where we are, and we're all experts in human beings. And so everybody's opinion and what they have to share is very valuable. And what we may never know, we might say something that seems trivial to us, but it inspires somebody else, or it sparks a thought, or it gives somebody something to build on. And so we never know the impact that we have of what we say. So that's an invitation. Whenever you think should I say something or not? Go for it, because it can have a tremendous impact on other people.
Just to add one more thing, is one thing that I love. I can't recall who said that, but the idea of having this brainstorm with the AI is great. Something as the more you provide context and all, I think it definitely something.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Excellent. So anything else? What else is going to change?
Allow me to also to mention something and pick up on what Christophe and Marie-Cécile said. The way we are asking questions, either just to work with Copilot, ChatGPT, and whatever, but also to understand the new generations, right? And what's their purpose? Because the way we better understand, well, at least these two, it will help us also to define the path going forward, right? To learn more from us on how we can adapt to them, but also them to know that we are here for them, right? So this will, the way we will ask questions going forward will also determine much of how we will change, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is very powerful, Ricardo. Yeah. The way we ask questions, and that is a human superpower, to ask questions, right? And the type of questions we're asking, because the type of questions we asking ourselves and others repeatedly is what's creating our reality. Because as soon as we ask a question, our mind goes to work to answer that question. And if we're asking generative questions, we're asking positive questions, we're asking questions that will can open up worlds, right? Stuff.
Barbara, the key item that you mentioned here is, for me, interaction between people. It's you having an idea that might be a bit crazy. You talk to a couple of other people, like, hey, wouldn't it be nice? And then the others go, actually, that's that might even be possible. And
Mm-hmm.
you suddenly have a group of people trying something, and you don't get that sitting at home alone in your office. I mean, unless you're super capable in a lot of topics, then the interaction is key.
Absolutely. And Sveta put it in the chat, right? The key to that is that you are in a safe environment, that you feel that you can share crazy ideas and no one's going to make fun of you, or no one's going to like nix that idea, right? Like in its infancy, but that you are in an environment where those ideas are not only welcome, but they actually are asked, because everybody is thinking about how can we continue to innovate? How can we continue to grow? But that is so fundamental. The only way that we can innovate and can grow is by coming up with crazy ideas, right? Because if the bigger we think, the more, like, it's that lean principle. I forget what it is. Maybe Ricardo or Elaine, you guys remember, but it's basically like set unrealistic goals, because you will still achieve more than if you had never set, like, if you set a small goal, something along those lines. Obviously I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember, but you know what I'm saying.
And that's why many companies now are asking people to go back to the office, right? Because they realize when everybody work in their home, they lose this connection, they lose the culture, they lose the interactions, the creativity. And that's going to be a big change for people, because a lot of us have got used to working from wherever they wanted.
Yeah.
And now it's a big change.
Absolutely.
I do think
go
so. Sorry to jump in. I'm talking again. I do think so that for some companies there's actually another motivation as well. It's an easy way to make some people just leave the company if you want to reduce workforce. I mean, you get the impression from Amazon in Germany, for example, where they in Munich say, okay, everybody needs to be in the office full time now, and you have until January to kind of get yourself organized around it. That's not easy if you live in the cities around it, have the kids in school, kindergarten, whatever. It's not easy to just change that completely.
I have a more cynical view. These companies have large swaths of commercial real estate portfolios, and I just think they don't want to see that devalue. And so it's more of a cynical point of view, but it's interesting because, like, with my company, we own huge amounts of commercial real estate, and sometimes it feels like the drive back into the office is surrounding that more than a connection, because realistically, we're all sort of all over the place now. And so we go into the office and we're on Zoom the whole time. So I don't know, it's a more of a flippant thought around it, but.
Yeah. And it's probably a both and. Right?
A little bit of every bit of that, yeah,
it's
right.
Probably true. Like there are lots of motivations why we want to bring people together. I think the most important thing to recognize is that there is value in bringing people together, and whether
That's
it's
true.
done like this
That
or
part.
whether it's bringing people to the office. I'm a very glasses half full person always. I'm an eternal optimist, so I think everybody does their best, and most people, they just don't know how to do it well. And the only thing they know is it only works when people are together in the same room, because they don't have the tools or they just don't have the expertise. How do we bring people together effectively so that what's happening here is happening on a regular basis, even when people are not together in the same room, because they might have never experienced this. We don't know what we don't know, right? And so I have a theory. Well, I know for a fact not everybody knows how to do that. Not everybody knows how to create safety at a distance, right? Remotely, because of course there is magic that happens when people are together. Like there is nothing like being able to hug someone, right? Or even just have like an informal conversation at the water cooler. That's why the water cooler is so powerful. But this has to be very carefully and specifically curated, and not everybody knows how. So yeah. I'd love to, first of all, last call for anything else that you think is going to change. If not, I'd love to like bring it home with another ask and with another prompt for reflection based on the conversation that we've had. what do you think is the single most important thing for you as leaders in your companies, for you guys to do based on what you know, based on what you've experienced in the past, based on the leader you've been in the past, the successes you've had, also thinking about what is going to change? What's the single most important thing for you to do to enable your teams and enable and build, really be a role model of the culture that you think is going to be needed to support people in thriving in whatever is coming, whether that's AI, whether that's other technological changes, whether that's whatever changes are coming our way, because we do know for a fact change is the only constant, right? That is true. So what's the single most important thing that you can do as a leader to be supporting your team in being in thriving and being a role model for your culture that is required to help people to thrive? And again, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about it, and I'm not going to put you back into groups, but I'd love to just hear from everybody. What's the one thing, the single most important thing that you can do as a leader to enable your teams to thrive, to be a role model and build a culture that enables people to thrive? All right. What is the single most important thing that you can do as a leader to help your people thrive and create a culture that enables people to thrive in an age of constant change? And Rhonda, I'm going to start with you. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. What I think someone already mentioned it. I think Christoph was saying the time, effort, and resources. I would expand on that to say, if you want someone to thrive in an environment, provide them the tools. So making whatever direction you want to use in terms of either technology or mindset, to provide them with the tools and resources to kind of give them that skill and capability, and then support them, because different people absorb or learn at different paces. So, and being supportive in providing those tools and resources. But I think if you throw someone in and expect them to float, if they don't know how to swim, they're not going to swim. So,
Very true. Excellent. Thanks, Rhonda. Perfect. Marie-Cécile, how about you?
Well, I agree and disagree at the same time.
Well, this is about what you think and what you're going to do, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So for me, the most important is the ability to fail and to learn and to go back, and in corporate organization, there's very little opportunities or time where you have everything. You have enough money, enough time, enough resources to do things, but still you cannot stop doing things, right? But the most important thing is that you feel that whatever happened with the idea you have and the things you want to try is going to be okay, because you're going to have somebody by your side. When you fail, you're going to be able to learn from this and try again and do better. And then, so like this, there is a kind of psychological safety that you're going to be all right.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Marie-Cécile. Daniel, how about you?
I'm probably going to be too obvious what I'm going to say, but for me, it's a combination of communicating and supporting people, and like connecting people, communication, support. Because I think that that's probably the most single reasons for failures in organizations. Like communication, when communication is bad, then everything goes down the drain. So I think the big challenge is continue to communicate. Of course, like when it comes to resources, when it comes to mission, vision, values, and communicating that. But I think that trying to connect people so we can do joint efforts is, so I would say connecting people, if I had to say only one thing, but that comes attached with supporting and communication.
Yes, great. And obvious is good because it's the simple things that we sometimes forget to do, right?
Yeah.
Elaine.
I struggled to come up with one, but I ended in the same place as Daniel, that it was about communication. And for me, it was kind of tying back to what you started with, that communicating and, you know, having a two-way communication, actively listening and acknowledging that things are changing and that, you know, the organization needs to be prepared for that, but at the same time, maintaining kind of the pillars that define the company, which I think helps create a safe environment and some trust in where the organization is.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Elaine. Christophe.
So I'll be also short and obvious. Be a leader, not a manager. And that includes a lot of what has been said, like embrace failure, protect your team, but also challenge them, give them a chance and the obligation to learn, give them the strategic guidance, the education, the qualification, and the participation in the change. So be a real leader.
Be a real leader. There you go. Holy Karim.
Embrace change. Everybody's afraid of it. It's here. We have to embrace it. We have a changing workforce, and we need to adapt to them and their needs, and give them the right tools. And I think AI is a perfect tool to help them. And Christophe talked about it. Take care of the stuff that we don't want to do, really. And I think the new generation needs to be has a higher need of being inspired, and feel that they belong and feel that they're giving something. So Christophe said it perfectly: be a leader and not a manager.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Karim. Sveta.
I had something, I think maybe it's more working on self. So very practical things. Learn to listen. So learn to slightly incrementally increase the time before giving a response or an opinion, but ask questions first, and maybe allow this little space of uncertainty for yourself as a leader before you know the answer, or before you have a suggestion. Because if you sit in the space and you really listen, like something else may come up. And I think that's conversation today demonstrated that as well.
Beautifully said, Sveta. Yes, thank you. We only just listened a little more. Yeah, totally. Ricardo.
Well, it's a bit of everything that was said before, but I also like to know my people, right? So I like to know them, because I have those that like to be or play in a safe environment. I have those that are more audacious. I have those that are more complex, and all of that together, knowing them, they will require different type of demand just to strive, right? And also that it puts more work on us, but we need to build also here a level of trust and confidence on everyone, that at the very end they can see we are here for them at the very end, right? So it's a mix of everything, right? So it's just adapt to them and being here for them at the very end.
Yeah. I love that. Knowing your people, because only then you know what to apply. Absolutely. I love that. Andrea.
Yeah, so Jim Collins in Good to Great talks about this level 5 leadership as combination of humility and will. And I sometimes feel like maybe have too much humility or I have too much will. And I've been thinking about it like the clutch and the gas, like really trying to have that combination. And when it comes to change and technology, I feel like my knowledge set is limited. So getting help from experts and kind of being willing to kind of raise my hand and say, I'm a little lost here in how I lead the team and how we talk about this and incorporate it into our organization. Asking for help has been a big learning for me as a leader.
That's awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Chad.
So creating and facilitating the space for a conversation around change.
Yeah.
And what's different and being able to listen and work through that with people, I think will be very important. Also, to the point of allowing for failure and experimentation as well is something that businesses need to build capacity for. And then I was also inspired by Christoph's like leaning into more of the positive aspects, right? How is it going to make us more efficient? How is it going to change the way we work in a more positive way? And how is it going to change how we reach people in positive, like to Daniel's point, it'll change the way we do customer service. So all those were aspects that I think we can lean into as part of that change conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I did pull up, I plugged my survey that I'm going to put in the chat. I'd love for you to take a minute to share what you appreciate about these conversations, what you'd love to see, what topics also you want to discuss. Is it fair to say you got some value out of today, or at least I hope you got some value? I feel like I definitely selfishly got a lot of value just from hearing your perspectives and learning from each of you. And that's the point. That's exactly the point of these conversations, to bring together different perspectives and learn from each other and with each other. And be better leaders, right? Because that is one thing. We don't talk, at least not at my company, we don't talk about managing change. We talk about leading change and navigating change, because it is about how do we show up? How do we bring certainty to people? How do we create safe spaces? How do we bring clarity to when there is ambiguity, and we focus on the things that we know versus what we don't know, so that uncertainty is not getting a grip on us, because that's very stifling. All right. Well, I want to make sure I'm definitely not going over. I want to respect your time. I really appreciate all of you being here and being such incredible contributors to today's conversation. I want to say this might have been the most active and most equally sharing group so far. It's been really, really powerful and my pleasure. And in exchange for you sharing, being here today, and also completing the survey, I want to invite you to the next one, which is going to be on Thursday, November 21st. I'll send an invite for that. The topic is TBD, based on maybe what you're sharing as what you want to talk about. I'd also be, if you think it's valuable, be more than happy to have an encore conversation, or lead and facilitate a conversation like this in your organization, if that is of any interest. You have my email. Please feel free to reach out. And then also, I'm going to summarize what we've discussed together today, and I will share that with you, so you get to reread and have everything in one place, all the nuggets and all the wisdom that was shared today. So thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for completing the survey, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day, or a good afternoon, depending on where you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.